Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting of Town Council, Tuesday, January the 27th, 2026 at 9 a.m. in Council Chambers. This meeting is being recorded and it will be uploaded later. We're having some difficulty with that. So before we start, I'd just like to say that we have Mr. Risling, our CAO, online with us today. Good morning, Mr. Risling. And I'd like to also introduce Everett Cook, who is our fire chief in Osoyoos now, just started yesterday. So welcome, Mr. Cook. We're happy to have you here. And we have other directors here as well. So I will ask for, before we approve the agenda and late items, I'm going to ask to have staff reports 2 deleted today because our Director of Community Services is quite sick and not even able to join us online. So that's not a good thing. We want Gerald to look after himself. And also the Community Services quarterly report for that one is also Gerald. So we will delete both of those and have the agenda. Could we have an approval, please, of the amended agenda? Thank you very much. Councillor King and Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thanks. All right, and we need the Committee of the Whole minutes of January the 13th adopted, please, because we have a motion for that. Councillor Chung, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. So first up this morning, we have a delegation from the Osoyoos Business Association. And Mr. Hahn, I think you're going to present this. Would you please come up to the microphone? And I just want to, I think you already know that you have 5 minutes to give your report, and then it will be open for questions if any of council needs to ask. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. Go ahead and welcome.
Okay, thank you. So yes, my name is Martin Hahn. I'm currently here to present the newly formed Osoyoos Business Association. Now, before I get into my regular spiel about why I'm here, I just want to tell you a little bit about why I'm actually here, how I got involved, just so you get a bit of a background. So I moved here in 2000 with my family. My son Michael's been here and been raised here for 25 years. He's gone through the school system. He's been over at Camp and Marina. So if you get some tall, lanky kid with long hair serving you food, that would be Michael. And then we also have my stepson, Sam, who's also grown up here for the most part. He's now doing his level 2 chef and working for Chris Van Hooydonk out at Backyard Farms. So they've both gone through the school system here. And in the meantime, of course, I've run various businesses here. When I first started, it was Meadowlark Picture Framing, which is a few years ago now. But through that business, I ended up covering areas from Grand Forks to Princeton, from Osoyoos to Penticton, because of, it's a smaller community. Sometimes you got to spread your wings a little and make it work. Now, through that, we had lots of hotels we did in Penticton. We got to work with the Osoyoos Indian Band. And of course, with the newly formed Incommute Winery back in 2003, where Chief Louis proclaimed that, he was making history, because for the first time it was, Indians selling booze to the white man. Funny guy. He's awesome. He's great to work with. Had lots of opportunity to work and do different things with them. Worked with local artists to give them some cheaper framing opportunities so that they can get their shows out. 2003, I became a founding member of the Osoyoos Rotary Club. And it just gave me an opportunity to really be involved in many different facets of how the community operates and business opportunities. Went and worked in forestry, which is my background. And in 2017, I purchased C3 Industries from Colin Kurtzinger, who at the time just needed something to do. His wife was our CMP, and he had 3 boys that he was tagging along, playing Mr. Mom. And it was great. It was a small business, but we've kind of grown that over the last few years to be a little bit bigger than that. Now we got 16 employees and 8 trucks on the road. So the community has always supported me personally, also, and our businesses and our staff when we run our business. So when the Osoyoos Business Association asked if I would join them, I was quite happy to, because their point is, and what they're trying to accomplish is to actually support you guys in being a bit of a bridge of communication between the business association and the town. So that's part of the reason, and one of the bigger reasons why I became involved. So who we are as OBA is just a basically a group of local business owners and entrepreneurs who come together with a shared purpose to make sure that our local community and our local economy remains strong, informed, and connected. So we want to strengthen the relationship and vital communication lines between the town leadership and the local business community. Sometimes what's happened as individual business owners, you have things that come up and concerns that come up, but you go to address them against, the town council, and town will say, okay, that's great. That's one person, that's one person, that's one person. But there wasn't really any joint effort or joint group that could say, you know what, there's actually 7 of us facing the same concern. How do we address this instead of individuals phoning the town office, which is annoying because this is way too busy. There's no way to actually make that work. So we decided let's come up with some kind of a forum where we can sit down and discuss similar concerns and issues and then become actually part of the solution rather than just constantly feeding problems. Well, what do we do? Okay, well, as a group of business owners, we all got a variety of backgrounds, lots of experience, and it gave us the opportunity to say, okay, well, here's some things we think we could do. How do we make this happen? So that's kind of what our purpose really is. Some of the times the decisions that are made, that affect and impact daily operations for the local businesses. And sometimes, we sort of feel that we kind of get left out of that process because there isn't really, we don't have a place to have our voice heard. There's too many individuals. So what we're hoping for, that this clear, unified channel of communication kind of goes in both directions so that the town can kind of keep the business community informed of what's happening. And we can also have a forum to say, look, these are issues that are being run into by several businesses. How do we approach this? What do we do with this? So we took it upon ourselves to build this bridge and support network to address these things. So we basically exist to ensure that this important information flows clearly in both directions so that we can all work together and pulling on the same rope and heading in the same direction. Now, what we're asking for, basically, because our primary goal is to improve the communication cycle and provide solutions to town and council and the business community. What we would like to do is request that we have somebody from council here be appointed to come and sit at our monthly meetings so that we can all kind of be on the same page at the same time. That's really all we're asking for, is just to have a little bit of support so that we can have that communication cycle be complete and there isn't guessing or people get things misunderstood. We just want to make sure that everything is clear and simple and it's as easy for you as it can possibly be, because I know you got lots on your plate. So we just want to make that seamless. Now, so if we have a dedicated representative or liaison to attend the meetings, we can have them at our tables to allow, clarify any concerns that may arise within our business community, and also make sure that there's accurate information being passed on to the community about what the Osoyoos Business Association is and what they're trying to accomplish. So the next step that we can see is we're just eager to move forward. So we'd like to ask council what steps you feel we should take. Right. So this is kind of a joint effort. We're still really new. We don't have this big plan or any hidden agendas. We just want to know, how do we help you guys? What can we as a business association do that makes everybody's life easier and creates that clear and concise communication channel? Yeah, so basically, if there's documents that you require, obviously, we do have all of our bylaws and everything in place. If you want that kind of information, just please let us know, and we'll get that to you as soon as we can. So, Mayor and Council, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it. I'm going to keep this short and simple. We're just ready to go to work with you guys and help you address some of these things. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead, please fire away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hahn. We appreciate it. I know it's been talked about for a long time, having a downtown business association. So it's nice to see that you've got something organized. We do not make decisions at this meeting, but we certainly can understand what your concerns are, and we can discuss it after and see what we can do to help you. And but I will open it up to questions. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I presume you're like a nonprofit organization?
I believe so, yes.
You believe so?
Could the details of that stuff is,
Could you tell me who's on your board?
Can I tell you who's? Oh, yeah, of course. So Sarah is here from Junction 3. There's Nathan Anders from Anders Construction. Len McLean is on our board from McLean Construction. There's Michael Kenny from Matrix. Jean Lockerbie has been involved from Sierra Self Storage. And then there's Marty, who's our bookkeeper, sort of secretary-ish person.
Okay.
So that's pretty much about it.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
think might be prudent if you did send us your constitution and bylaws and your board of directors, so we could have a little bit more information while we help to make a decision. I
Okay,
think would be helpful.
absolutely. Yeah, you betcha. I will do that. We'll do that right away this morning. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you? No? Okay, go ahead. Councillor Chong?
First off, thank you for coming here today. Is there an appetite to work closer or closely with the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce, either as a subcommittee or just to build that organizational structure? Because there's a lot of strength with the Chamber of Commerce as they are a board of trade, which gives them a larger and stronger voice for advocacy. What is broken? Oh, okay.
Just entertainment purposes. Yeah.
Just sound effects. Yeah, is there any appetite there to partner or work with the South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, we've addressed both Destination Osoyoos and the Chamber of Commerce and spoken with both of the organizations. There's a slight difference in our mandate, and then there's also the Chamber tends to focus more on the things like tourism and winery industry. For details of that, I'm going to defer to Sarah because I don't have all the details of that. I'm not the one that's been dealing with the Chamber. We have addressed them, obviously, but there's also slight differences in how we and who we support. So the most part, what we've noticed is that the Chamber deals a lot with, like I said, the winery and the tourism industry, but there's a large portion of businesses that are here in town year round that don't have the representation by the Destination or Chamber of Commerce because it isn't their mandate. So that's part of the reason why we've started the downtown or the Osoyoos Business Association, right, which is prevalent. They've just started one in Oliver as well because of the fact that there is a difference in the focus of what we're trying to accomplish. For more details of that, I can send you that information, but I don't want to speak on that too much more because I haven't really dealt with the Chamber that much.
In addition, it would be good to see, even if it is a preliminary budget, what potentially what visioning, what strategic goals, having basically a playbook with including your bylaws, constitution, board of directors, everything would be really nice because then that gives us a very clear, concise document as to, okay, where do all the pieces of the puzzle fit together? Because I think everyone can work together, and I agree with you. Like there's a gap, and I think the OBA would be a fantastic fit to liaise and work with the Chamber of Commerce using existing infrastructure to then increase and enhance that communication.
No, thank you. No, I do appreciate that. I think our first goal here today was just to figure out whether or not you're actually interested in listening to what we have to say, and whether or not, if this is something that's of interest to you, then we would love to support and work with you, and then absolutely we'll get all that information to you. So yeah, thank you.
I'll just say that definitely town is always happy to work with groups that have respectful requests. Sometimes we get things that are a little outrageous, and so that's where it comes. It sometimes is difficult, but absolutely, we're always ready to work together with other groups, and I'm sure a lot of the groups in town too would be happy to see what you're doing and what you're saying and what your goals are. So absolutely, we're ready. Jim.
Yeah, we'll save the outrageous for
Madam
later.
Yeah, how much does it cost to join your association, or is there a cost?
But there is for each of the individual businesses, it's $100 fee.
And how are you proposing to get the list of all the businesses in town?
Well, through I think we've already got a big list of most of the businesses in town already with their emails. We've had a couple of kind of just general meetings with a lot of inviting a bunch of the local businesses just to see whether or not the local businesses actually want us to exist, right? Because it's just, I mean, we can have an idea in our head, but if the business association is just a business association with 5 guys thinking they've got a great idea, but there's no support even from the local businesses, that wouldn't have worked. So we've got that support already.
But you're actually talking to owners of the business, not managers of businesses.
Correct. Well, both. The managers, if the manager's available, if the owner's out of town, then we'll talk to the manager. So that does happen. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming and presenting this, and we look forward to hearing some more information from you. If you wouldn't mind sending it to us, and we can certainly have a look at how we can help.
Okay.
Okay?
Wonderful. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we will go on to staff reports. And the first one is our various land use bylaw amendments. And I believe we have Mr. Garish online. Good morning, Mr. Garish. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm just going to try sharing my screen. Bear with me a second. And there's a chance I might lose this when I go to presentation mode. So just ask once I get going if everybody can see.
We can see it. Good. Thank you.
Still good?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. If you happen to see our notes slide, let me know and I can switch it up. So as council is aware, the item before you today in relation to the land use bylaws are some various amendments that staff have identified again, primarily through the day-to-day use of the bylaw. And we're going to seek direction from council on possible amendments to provide greater clarity and to address some areas that have happened recently in relation to the transition to the new zoning bylaw and also some amendment bylaws that were adopted. So there's two parts to the presentation. Mr. Wong is going to help me with parts of it, and we're going to start with the official community plan. And the first one that I want to touch on is the riparian development permit area. So as council is aware from a recent amendment that we did in relation to exemptions, the RDP is intended to protect the natural environment, specifically riparian values. And the primary location that it's applied within the town is Osoyoos Lake and the foreshore area. And development requiring an RDP includes almost everything. So construction, subdivision, and land alteration that happens within 30 meters of the lake or any other watercourse. And here's just a visual representation. So you can see most of the green is around the lake, but there are some other watercourses that run through town and some of the ponds and other smaller water bodies as well. So yes, there was an amendment in relation to infrastructure exemptions that council considered last year that was intended to provide clarity. But as we continue to work with more riparian development permit applications and qualified environmental professionals and property owners, we've become aware of some additional exemptions that we feel would benefit from either being deleted, reworded, or in certain instances expanded or new exemptions introduced. And a lot of that is also in relation to the watercourse development permit that applies in littoral area A. It's a little bit more robust in terms of the exemptions that it has, and we feel there's a benefit because, of course, it is a shared lake between the regional district and the town to have consistency in terms of how riparian exemptions are applied. So first off, I'm just going to touch quickly on some of the exemptions that we were proposing to delete. And these are primarily in relation to provincial legislation that exists and already exempts certain developments from the need for local government permit. So because it's already covered by legislation, we don't feel it needs to be duplicated as an exemption because technically it's not really a valid exemption if the legislation already provides that. So I've articulated some of the ones here. So farm practices protection, mines permits, and non-conforming use and siting rights under the Local Government Act. Basically, local government bylaws can't supersede that legislation, and because those acts already provide exemptions, we don't feel it needs to be repeated in the town's riparian development permit area. And then the last one, which is we think self-evident, interior renovations, of course, don't trigger the need for a riparian permit because they're all happening within an existing building and not affecting outdoor or outside riparian values. The second set of exemptions that I'm going to touch on now are ones that we feel would benefit from revisions, primarily to expand the exemption to better explain how it's applied and the situations in which it's applied. And so we feel the ones that relate to removal of vegetation would benefit from this, specifically infested or diseased and hazardous trees. So we're proposing that be pulled out as a standalone exemption. And that also, when vegetation needs to be removed to reduce fire hazard, that be specified as a separate exemption and expanded in terms of the wording provided. We also want to expand the wording related to emergency works for flooding, just so it provides clearer guidance as to when that can apply and some of the obligations around that. And then also, this is more minor, but additional wording in relation to maintaining existing yards, which would primarily be gardening, landscaping, maintenance of other disturbed areas, patios, play areas, sand pits, that kind of stuff that already exist, that the legislation considers to be areas of human disturbance and are otherwise not meant to be captured by a riparian development permit. And then the last one for the RDP exemptions, just some proposed new additions that we'd like to see put in, again, to help with consistency and ensuring that development can move forward in a timely fashion. So just clarifying that where a parcel has already been issued a riparian development permit and any new development is consistent with that permit, that there's no need for an additional or a revised or an amended permit. Exempting activities that are subject to provincial approval under Section 11 of the Water Act. Council, if it wished, could continue to require a permit for those, but we feel that that's kind of duplicating the work that the province is doing when assessing works in relation to a water course. And if the province is prepared to sign off on that, that there's really no benefit to be realized by further requiring an RDP from the local government. And then also we want to simplify the exemption that currently exists in relation to the Fisheries Act and when Department of Fisheries and Oceans approval might be required. The current exemption specifies specific sections of the Act. We just want to make that a more general reference to the Act. And now I'm going to pass it over to Shannon to address some of the mapping issues that we're proposing for the OCP.
Thank you. So in reviewing our map schedules as part of the town's OCP bylaw, we did notice that unfortunately some of those map schedules were not reflective of amendments that council had previously made to that bylaw under amendment bylaws 1375.03 and 1375.06 2024. So in order to correct these issues, we do require an OCP amendment to essentially update the map schedules that we have within the OCP bylaw to align with those previous decisions. So just to go through those amendment bylaws, just so council's aware, amendment bylaw 1375.03 2024. This was in relation to a rezoning application where the property owner at 5801 Oleander Drive had asked for an OCP and zoning amendment. The OCP component of this was to change the designation from medium density residential to low density residential. And this was adopted by council on June 25th, 2024. Now, the second amendment bylaw 1375.06 2024, this was a more substantial set of amendments. These are OCP amendments that we had undertaken as part of the zoning bylaw update, and they largely target the development permit area designations when we had changed over the zoning of those comprehensive development properties. So this specifically includes 4217 Lakeshore Drive, so that's the former 9-hole pitch and putt. We had applied a multi-family residential development permit area to that property. 43 44th Avenue, which is Lakeshore Villas, we had applied a mixed use and commercial development permit area. 4000 Lakeshore Drive, which is Walnut Beach Resort, also had a similar mixed use and commercial development permit area designation. 5 Park Place, which is the watermark, also had a mixed use and commercial development permit area. And lastly, 32 Empire Street had an industrial development permit area designation. As part of these amendments, we had also changed the designation of 4350 Lakeshore Drive, which was the former final phase of the Lakeshore Villas development, from tourist commercial to medium density residential, and designated the property as multifamily residential development permit area. And this amendment bylaw was adopted by council along with the zoning bylaw on September 24th, 2024. So we are just recommending that those changes be made to correct those map schedules at this time.
Great, thank you. I'm going to switch back over now to the zoning bylaw, and I've got a few quick slides which we'll run through, and then I'll pass it back over to Shannon. So this is an issue that's come to light recently, and it relates to the transition from the former zoning bylaw to the new zoning bylaw in 2024. The former zoning bylaw, council had amended it in 2019 in order to allow craft brewery / distillery as a permitted use in the industrial zone. When the transition to the new zoning bylaw happened in September of 2024, this allowance was not carried forward. We went back through the various notes that we had prepared as part of the transition between the two bylaws, and we can't identify any issue that flagged that or that spoke to that not being a preference. So we are assuming it was just a simple oversight, and we would like to correct that and be consistent with the council direction of 2019 and make sure that that type of use is allowed in the industrial area. So The language has changed between the two bylaws. It's no longer called craft brewery or distillery. It's now a more broader catch-all alcohol production facility description. And so we're proposing that that be introduced as permitted use in what's now the I1 zone. And just for council's benefit, I've got a quote here that shows the definition of what an alcohol production facility is. We think this will basically capture what was in the previous bylaw and make sure that nobody's lost any ability to do that use on their parcel in the industrial area. And now I'll pass it back over to Shannon to speak to the parking issues.
Great. So as part of the zoning bylaw update, we had updated the regulations that pertain to the dimensions of parking spaces and maneuvering aisle widths within parking lots. And that was largely to ensure that our parking requirements were meeting a more modern standard. So the changes that were made generally resulted in the imposition of greater parking space dimension and maneuvering aisle width requirements. However, that is seen to be reflective of the overall rural nature that the town of Osoyoos is situated within, just taking into consideration that you have surrounding agricultural and extractive industry lands, and that these types of environments would typically see larger vehicles being used, and therefore having larger parking requirements would typically be needed to accommodate the size of those types of vehicles. That being said, there were a number of developments that were in progress at the time of the zoning bylaw update. So some of these, typically the larger multifamily and commercial development projects that we saw, being the types of projects that typically result in a really large calculation of parking requirements. These were the most impacted by those changes, and some of them were no longer able to comply with some of the more onerous parking space requirements. So in order to assess kind of where the town sits with its requirements, we did review the parking regulations that were applied to select member municipalities within the South Okanagan as well as the Central Okanagan. And we did also take a look at the resort municipalities to kind of see how we compare. This review did indicate, unfortunately, that there is no clear standard that applies as it relates to the size of parking spaces and maneuvering aisles. And really every jurisdiction does things just a little bit differently. So although the town's parking requirements do tend to be on the larger side, they don't really deviate substantially from other municipalities that we've seen. In fact, some municipalities do have more onerous requirements than those seen within the town. But this is seen to present a bit of a challenge. It would typically make sense that we apply these types of requirements based on industry best standards or standards set out by the transportation planning governing bodies. Or we could take a regional approach or take a more rural versus urban type of approach to how we set out parking requirements. Next slide. So there may be benefits to aligning our parking requirements with nearby municipalities, as I mentioned, taking a more regional approach to applying our parking standards, as vehicle trends and weather-related considerations would generally be the same when you're looking within the same region or sub-region. And this would also be beneficial for any developers or property owners within that region. So with that in mind, we are proposing that the zoning bylaw be amended at this time to update our parking requirements. And the draft amendment bylaw that we've presented would take kind of a bit of a regional or sub-regional approach and bring the town's parking requirements closer in line with that of the town of Oliver. So that would provide a bit more consistency on the south end of the Okanagan Valley. That being said, if council does prefer to maintain the larger, more rural standard, of course, council does have that option to not make any changes to its parking requirements at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So really what you're just asking is to have this this initiated. So in other words, started. We're not making any decisions today. We're just looking at what the suggested changes might be. And most of them, I think, make perfect sense. I've looked at it several times. The angles. Angle parking, and you've got several different these stall angle. Is that it's whether you can back out or get into traffic properly? Can you explain that? Because there's lots of different numbers underneath each one of them.
Yes. So Chris, if you actually want to go to the next slide there and sharing that.
This one?
16.
16.
Yeah, and then sharing that on the screen. Oh shoot, I was hoping that we'd have an angle, an angle image here. So these show actually 90-degree angle parking spots. So like you'll see, essentially you're in the maneuvering aisle and you have to take a 90-degree turn to get into that parking, both of those parking stalls kind of shown on.
We can't see anything yet, so can we get the slide up first?
Oh, sorry. I'll try again.
Thank you.
How's that?
No, can't see it.
No? Huh.
No.
Okay, I'll let me try
Well,
this
I
one
know
then.
I've seen it somewhere, so
Still nothing?
Okay,
No,
that's
we
okay.
just
I'll try
have-
to I'll try to verbally explain this, but
okay.
yeah, essentially the angles, as discussed in these bylaws, are the angles that you would have to turn to get into those spots.
Okay.
The numbers that are used, so the 0-degree, 30-degree, 45-degree, 90-degree, and 60-degree, those are pretty standardly used. That was actually one of the few things that was standard throughout the review that we had taken with the member municipality parking regulation review.
Okay, thank you. Does that also include indoor parking as well as outdoor?
Arcades.
Like in a
With
basement or
arcades.
something, parking garage? Are there rules and
It would
regulations for that too?
Yes.
Does anybody, go ahead, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, on your mapping around the lake, you showed 1375.06, and one of our options is 1375.11. So I'm just curious, someone might have made a typo, or what are we working on?
Yes, so the slides that I had included, they just go over the 2 amendment bylaws that council had already adopted previously, that are currently not reflected in the current map schedules of the OCP bylaw. So amendment bylaw 1375.11 is actually the amendment bylaw that you would be looking at today, which would fix all of those
Thank you.
problems.
Okay, go ahead. Councillor Puerto Rica.
Thank you very much, shifting through to Ms. Wong and Mr. Gersh. Just a question with regards to the proposed changes in the parking, and just reflective of the fact that, and I appreciate the comparisons up and down the valley as well as some of our resort municipalities, is especially when we hit summertime, we have larger trucks towing larger boats, and just keeping that in mind, as well as in the off season, we find that we're a sober population. You know, they tend to have larger vehicles, and they tend to, I guess they can't stay within the lines, but they're larger vehicles that there's some maneuvering issues in the parking lot, and I just want to, you know, hopefully recognize that when we consider those changes, that just based on location of where we are, that those larger stalls do have some benefit.
So did you get that? You can include that into in what we're talking about when you come back?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Chung.
Thank you. With regards to the alcohol production facilities, I noticed like winery is listed as one of the allowable facilities. Now, is this including a tasting room, or is this purely for the production of the alcohol itself? Because in the industrial development permitted area, it wouldn't exactly be the most ideal location for, you know, a tasting room or a cidery or a brewery. So I can see why it wasn't included. I think it was in 2019 when it wasn't included. So is this just purely the production of the alcohol, or is this including consumption by patrons?
Chris or Shannon, do you? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, to the mayor, it's a good question. I've quickly brought up the actual definition from the zoning bylaw, which isn't that different from the one that I put in the PowerPoint slide. I had to shave a few words off for space considerations, but yeah, alcohol production facility seems to be exclusively related to production that's been licensed under the Liquor Control and Licensing Act. Now I know LCRB will sometimes allow for ancillary patios, tasting rooms, eating and drinking establishment type uses. I'm a little hesitant to give a firm answer on the fly here. I probably have to dig into the bylaw, but we can certainly address that when we come back for first reading and provide clarification to council at that time.
Just as a follow-up, I'm just worried in terms of a slippery slope, because then once you have a tasting room, a brewery or cidery, then of course there's going to be food production, and then there's going to be a food truck, and of course in the industrial zone you're looking at a lot of aggregate production, industrial uses, which isn't exactly conducive to consuming anything outdoors. And then it opens up the floodgates of, okay, well, if there's a food truck here, why can't I have a cafe? Or why can't I have this? Or why can't I have that? So I think it's important that we are very clear with where that line is. So some additional clarification, I think, would be warranted.
Okay.
Thank you. And I think we did have alcohol production in the industrial area at one time. And so I think it was then sort of taken out when we redid this. Is that correct? And we also had food production up there. We've had a couple of, like a cafe that was up there at one time. And I'm not sure, that's changed so that we cannot have a cafe or food production up there right now?
So to the mayor, I'll answer the first question, which was yes, council did make an amendment in 2019 to allow for the craft brewery / distillery as permitted use in the industrial zone. I've got the industrial zone open right now on my desktop. I'm just looking at the range of permitted uses. Obviously, the principal uses are all related to industrial uses. However, under accessory uses, there is an accommodation for office and then also retail. But I'm not seeing anything that specifically speaks to eating and drinking establishments. And in relation to food trucks, just bear with me a second here. That would be the mobile vendor. And the zoning bylaw does say that there are permitted accessory, I guess, operation within the industrial zones. That helps.
Just a comment. There was a restaurant up in the industrial section within the last year, and they chose to move downtown. So I presume we passed it or it's allowed there. I think this is just something that got missed back in 2019 to just allow brewing, specifically not patrons, open to the public, just for brewing purposes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we can look at that when we're doing the changes, because I agree, I thought the same thing, and we did know that there was a restaurant up there, and they have moved downtown, so I'm assuming there isn't one. However, I knew that people that worked in the industrial area appreciated it, so what do you do?
Okay.
So have you got sort of enough information that we go with the recommended motion that you have, that the official community plan and zoning amendment bylaw, those be initiated? Are we okay with that, or is there anybody else that has anything more to add? No? So would somebody like to move the recommended? Thank you, Councillor King. Any seconder? Councillor Potterica, all in favor. Thanks very much. Thank you,
you.
Ms. Wong and Mr. Garish.
See you later.
Okay. We'll now go on to we're going community services, corporate services and planning and development quarterly report. Mrs. Coulson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start by highlighting some of the points in the corporate services 2025 fourth quarter report. The new communications administrator, you might note, has made some changes to the layout of the data throughout the report, allowing it to be more easily digested at a glance, I guess you could say. So we're anxious to hear council's feedback on those changes. On page 2, in the bylaw enforcement area, the report highlights that unsightly properties, noise complaints, traffic violations, and animal control complaints continue to represent the most prevalent kinds of issues we're dealing with. On page 3, the communication survey that was offered late last year gave the town a passing grade, but 16 to 27% of the respondents were not happy with our communication services. So that tells us that we need to do better. So we are currently working on improvements to the areas that were noted. On page 4, the graph on public contacts at our public counter here in the municipal office highlight the impact of the quarterly billings on the administration and the finance staff. You can see that the numbers there have more than doubled from last year. Highlights in the planning and development portion of the report on page 6, the project updates include the results of the mobile vendor survey, showing that almost 93% of the 350 respondents support mobile vendors such as food trucks in town. Page 8 shows that our building inspector has been extremely busy with inspections this year compared to previous years. And page 8 to 10 shows that 24 building permits with a construction value of almost 4.9 million were approved in the last quarter of 2025. Finally, page 10 shows that the planning office public counter has been also extraordinarily busy, almost doubling the number of contacts over this quarter in 2025 or 4.
Thank you very much. I think it's, and I think you said that it was Ms. Oshowski that has helped put all the graphics in here, and they really make it quite interesting. So thank you for doing that. If anybody has any questions, we'll just jump in. Go ahead, Councillor Chong.
Thank you. With regards to the communication survey, how is it distributed to the public?
How did the public get notified that it was available? Through e-news at the time.
So communications has just been a new program here. So presumably we haven't had a lot of time to get feedback on this, and I would think that that will probably see an improvement as people kind of get used to it. Right?
Yes, and following that, our Facebook page was established, and I think that is been very effective in getting the message out on some of these issues. And the more recent survey that's still open for a couple more days on the placement of CCANs in residential areas.
Good. So I think that's a positive, especially if people were concerned. I think that they will see that that definitely is improving. Okay. Nobody else has any questions for Mrs. Coulson. Thank you very much. And we're now going to look at the Osoyoos Fire Rescue. Is somebody going to report on that, or Mr. Risling, are you going to, or are we just going to have a look at? Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Risling. Would you like to comment on this?
Sure, I can give a bit of an update on the fire report. Overall, I think numbers look fairly consistent with previous years. As far as calls, they are up over 2024. However, they're very similar to what was 2 years ago. So again, up a bit for 2025 over 24, but when comparing to 23, basically bang on. The department has done an extraordinary job again of getting to calls in a timely manner. They're still averaging under 8 minutes for a call, which is extraordinary, especially considering our volunteer base. They're definitely dedicated to serving the public and get to these situations quickly. As far as personnel hours, and that includes a lot of our volunteer time, I guess a good thing is hours declined a little bit over this quarter compared to last quarter, which means hopefully a few less longer calls because they do log all the amount of time that they spend on specific calls. So that's a good thing. And most of that time is, however, linked to training. Some other positives with the department. Most things they do are positive. They do a lot of work for the community, and within the quarterly report, you see that they've done some fundraising and donated money into various organizations, including our local volleyball team and the Similkameen Hospital Foundation. One of the biggest successes this past year was acquiring the Superior Tanker Shuttle Service. The group worked on this for about 6 months. So it's an incredible amount of work, an incredible amount of dedication. And they were able to acquire that certificate just here in the last quarter. So big congrats to those folks. In essence, what that basically means is the shuttle service center that we have ensures that there's water going to be available for the pumps in all areas that we serve. So that's just a fantastic achievement for the group. And I also want to give just a big shout out to the entire department. First to our two deputies. They've been working a little under horsepower here the past year and have done an extraordinary job of keeping uh, all our performance measures in line as far as the inspections and getting to inquiries in a timely manner. So they really stepped up. But it's not only those two that stepped up, it's the entire team. Whenever somebody is missing in an organization, everybody has to pick it up. And I want to give a big kudos to the entire fire department. And that sums it up, other than obviously an important thing that was, Mayor, you indicated earlier this morning, we have a new fire chief. That's obviously not last quarter. That's going to be the news of next quarter. But we're very happy to fill our fire chief position with Fire Chief Cook. And thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm available to hopefully respond.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say I'm so impressed with all the pictures in here. I've read it a couple of times. I think that is really good. It's really interesting. And guess what? Everybody looks happy. They look involved. They're participating in all kinds of events. As a matter of fact, like there's a picture of Christmas light up. Christmas and July 1st, the two parades, we normally have every vehicle that the fire department owns in the parade. Now, we always put them at the end so that they can escape if they need to, if something happens, and the police at the beginning. But you know what? They're a great group of people, and Chief Cook, you're going to enjoy on July the 1st the fire department. Several of them put on particularly interesting outfits, and they go in the parade. It's great fun, and they win prizes every year for doing that. So I just think this is an excellent report and an excellent set of pictures. Whoever did this, well done. I think it's great fun.
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to add one thing.
Yes.
Because I have to give a summary, and usually as administration, we try to keep it down to just a few bullet points. And I definitely struggled with my bullets this go around because there were so many fantastic things that they did this past quarter. And so, yeah, I'm glad you recognize that. And I didn't want to, I felt like I shortchanged the department this go around because there were so many good things in there.
No, thank you. And so, Chief Cook, you've come into a great department. We're very pleased with them. So, thank you. All right. Next, we have Operational Services Department, and that would be Miss Director Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll just kind of work my way through that. So for the domestic water system, you can see that our the water produced is up a little bit, and that corresponds with the sanitary sewer pump to the wastewater treatment lagoons as well, being up a little bit as well. Our number of water service repairs is down this year compared to last year. The couple things you'll see under the sanitary sewer is an increase in the wet wells cleaned and then the catch basins cleaned. We have made a concentrated effort to improve our preventative maintenance in this last quarter, as well as a increase in the kilometers of road swept. So they're focusing in a little bit better, which I think is good news. Moving on to training in human resources on page 5, I believe it is. Again, we're making an effort, especially in our water and sewer department, to get them more courses and more training to be able to maintain our systems just that much better, and then kind of get them all working together as a team a little bit more. Nothing too much there. Our calls were up after hours. I'm not 100% sure what they were, but it could be related to our SCADA system and just some anomalies on that. For the capital program, you'll see that we removed the table that was there. The information there was from 2024, so to go through the effort for 1 quarter didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I can give some highlights here. We're going to update it for 2026 in Q1 so that we can start anew. But at the beginning of Q4, we wrapped up the construction on Magnolia Place and did the walkthroughs on that. The contractors started work or continued to start the initial work on the lift station flood mitigation project throughout all the lift stations that are on the perimeter of the lake. Water meters continue to be installed and are expected to be completed in the spring of 2026. And the pilot water treatment plant is ongoing with our engineer, Carollo Engineering, through to the end of the summer of 2026.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? I was looking at the landfill stats. We seem to be taking more garbage to the landfill. Is that common, or is it because we have an increase in population, or are people doing their spring cleaning early? Do we know?
I don't know. I can look into see if we have more detailed breakdown of that.
Well, I'm glad it's used, but I mean, we want people to do that. But yeah. Anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Councillor King.
I guess it would just follow up. You were in my mind about the landfill, because I guess the population, we are a growing town, we're going to get more stuff to the landfill. Do you know about how many years we have left at the landfill? Approximate?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't. We have received our DOCP. I'm trying to remember what what the acronym stands for, but anyways, our plan that was recently done by Dillon Engineering, that's currently under review, and I should be able to bring that to that information in the near future.
It was brought up the other day at the regional district, and I believe that Osoyoos' landfill has about 20 years, 2021 left on it. We certainly, it had about that amount quite some time ago, and there was a revamping of the landfill which extended it, so that was a good thing. But they were comparing them all at the regional district the other day, all the landfills, and so I noted that one. So we always do a kind of put some money in the budget to do a cover on the landfill and do that. But at one point we were looking at trying to find additional space, particularly around the landfill, and I'm not sure where that got to, but we may have to look into that again. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. It seems like even if we standardize for the increase in sanitary sewer pump to the lagoons, with regards to the total volume of domestic water produced, it seems like we're still higher up on the domestic water produced number. Is that more so? Do we have potentially more visitors, or like what could you account for that difference?
Thank you. So, I mean, outside there is just leaks generally in water systems, no matter how much you try. Not all water finds its way into the sewer system. There could still be people in September likely that were irrigating, or even, I don't know why, but anyways, taking it elsewhere, something like that, or trucked water for construction projects and stuff like that. So not, like I said, not everything finds its way into it. It's typically common that your sanitary sewer that gets pumped is less than your water produced.
Okay, so if there is nothing more on the quarterly reports, thank you all for doing that, and we will catch up with community services when Mr. Davis is back. So I'm looking for a motion, please. Terminate. Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thanks, everybody.